Liam couldn't believe what had happened when the most feared mercenary in the galaxy saved his life. And what was even more surprising were the rumors surrounding her. Ryara Anderson, a Visari woman adopted by human parents and raised on Earth. One moment he'd been on his knees in the warehouse, hands bound behind his back, the acrid smell of industrial coolant mixing with his own fear sweat. 3 Xylos mercenaries loomed over him, massive grey bipedals whose base strength could snap human bones like twigs. Their elongated heads stretched almost comically high, housing 2 red eyes that glowed like embers in the dim light. The next moment, all 3 dropped to the hard warehouse floor, with synchronized thuds that shook the metal grating beneath Liam's knees. She materialized from the shadows like a nightmare-given form, holding a slender blowpipe that seemed almost delicate in her armored hands. Liam's breath caught as recognition hit him harder than any Xylos fist could have. Ryara Anderson, the galaxy's most famous and feared mercenary. She moved with grace despite the full body armor encasing her form. Where a human would have hair, writhing tentacles crowned her head, undulating with their own quiet rhythm. The comparison to ancient Earth's Medusa was inevitable, though these appendages lacked the snakeheads of myth. Her face, exposed beneath her helmet's retracted visor, was almost achingly delicate, skin the color of spring leaves, 2 yellow eyes that seemed to glow on their own, a small nose, and soft purple lips that he knew carried her species' legendary poison. "Get up," she commanded, her voice carrying the flat, no-nonsense tone he'd heard in countless war documentaries. "We're leaving." Liam struggled to his feet, still processing what had happened. You're moving now." She grabbed his bound wrists and sliced through the restraints with a blade that appeared and disappeared so quickly he barely saw it. Her grip on his arm was firm enough to bruise as she hauled him toward the exit. "Hey! Easy!" Liam protested, stumbling to keep up with her longer stride. "I'm not the enemy here." She shot him a look that could have curdled milk. "You're soft, unlike most humans who stay strong and ready." "I'm a financial analyst." He yanked his arm free, rubbing the spot where her fingers had dug in. "Not everyone spends their time drop-kicking Xylos warriors. And I'm from Mars, actually." His breath was already coming short from the jog, though he tried to hide it. Too many hours behind a desk, not enough in the company gym. Mars, Earth, same species. Still human, act like one. She didn't slow her pace, forcing him to keep up as they navigated the warehouse's maze of shipping containers. Humans conquered half the galaxy before most species figured out FTL. They didn't do it from behind spreadsheets. "Is it true what they say about you?" The question tumbled out before Liam could stop it. "That you're Visari, but raised by humans?" Her tentacles rippled. Annoyance, maybe. Gossip travels faster than light, apparently. "But the Xylos, they wiped out that science station 30 years ago. You were the only survivor." 28 years, 3 months, 16 days. Her voice carried an edge sharp enough to cut. "Chief Engineer Marcus Anderson and his wife Elena pulled me from the wreckage. I was 8 months old. By human reckoning." They burst through an exit into the docking bay where a ship waited. A sleek predator of black metal and aggressive angles. Liam had seen enough mercenary vessels to recognize top-tier hardware when he saw it. "So you hunt Xylos for revenge?" he had to ask, even as she practically shoved him up the boarding ramp. "I hunt whoever pays best." She guided him to a passenger seat with all the gentleness of someone loading cargo. "The fact that Xylos contracts pay triple because of my enthusiasm is just economics." "But they killed your family. Your whole colony." "They killed my first family." She began strapping him in with a lot of efficiency, leaning close enough that he could see the faint patterns in her green skin. When they came back for human colonies, they threatened my second one, the one that taught me how to shoot, how to fly, how to turn fury into profit. Liam's heart hammered as she leaned over him to secure the chest restraints. This close, he could smell something floral and alien on her skin. You know, most people say you're welcome after saving someone. A ghost of a smile touched those purple lips. She understood his sense of humor. Most people aren't worth 3 million credits in ransom. Your company really wants their senior financial analyst back. Wait, this is a rescue or a kidnapping. Depends on how annoying you are during the flight. She moved to the pilot's seat, her tentacles brushing against his shoulder as she passed. He wasn't sure if it was intentional. The ship's engines roared to life, and Liam felt himself pressed back into the seat as they lifted off. Through the viewport he watched the warehouse and his would-be executioners shrink to nothing. "Can I ask you something?" She sighed, flipping switches and pressing buttons. "You're going to anyway." "Your poison, the Fusari toxin, is it true it can kill most species in under 5 minutes? 3 minutes for Xylos, 5 for Altarians, about 30 seconds for those fragile little Epsilon runners." She engaged the autopilot and swiveled her chair to face him. "Why? Worried I'll kiss you to death?" Liam's face burnt. I mean... She stood and moved toward him with that predatory grace, placing her hands on either side of his seat. Her face was inches from his, those yellow eyes boring into his brown ones. "Scared, Mars boy?" "Terrified," he admitted, his voice barely a whisper. She leaned closer, her lips almost brushing his ear. Her voice dropped to a whisper that sent shivers down his spine. "Wanna know a secret? Humans are immune." She pulled back, that ghost smile now a full smirk as she returned to her pilot's seat. "My parents figured that out when I was 3, and I tried to kiss my scraped knee better. Mom was very surprised when she didn't die." Liam sat in stunned silence for a moment before laughing, actually laughing for the first time since the Xylos had grabbed him. "You're messing with me." "Am I?" She didn't turn around, but he could hear the amusement in her voice. "Guess you'll have to wait until we reach the drop-off point to find out. 3 days in hyperspace. Try not to be too soft, human." 3 days? Liam worked at the straps, loosening them now that they were safely away. "You're stuck with me for 3 whole days?" "I'm not stuck with anyone." She spun her chair to face him again, one tentacle curling thoughtfully. "You're stuck with me. Big difference." "And what exactly does one do on Ryara Anderson's ship for 3 days?" He managed to get the chest restraint loose and leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Besides, trying not to be too soft, of course. Most of my passengers stay quiet and pray I don't space them." She tilted her head, studying him. "But then, most of my passengers are bounties, not rescues." "Lucky me." Liam stood, stretching muscles that were already complaining from his brief sprint. "So, do I get a tour of this death trap, or should I just sit here and work on my strong, human-like posture?" Her laugh was unexpected, rich and genuine, so different from her earlier cold efficiency. "You're not what I expected from a financial analyst." "What did you expect? Someone boring? Someone who'd be crying by now." She rose from her seat, and he realized she was taller than him by a good 3 inches. "Most civilians who get grabbed by Xylos don't handle it well." "You're making jokes. Humor's my defense mechanism." He shrugged, trying not to notice how her armor accentuated every curve. "That and spreadsheets. I could bore you with compound interest calculations if you'd prefer." "Pass." She moved past him, toward a door he hadn't noticed. "Galleys through here. Sleeping quarters are aft. Touch my weapons locker, and I'll demonstrate exactly how fast Visari poison works on humans." "I thought you said we were immune." She paused at the doorway, looking back over her shoulder. "I said my parents discovered I couldn't poison them. I never said I couldn't poison you. Her tentacles rippled in what he was beginning to recognize as amusement. Maybe some humans are special. Maybe you're not. That's just mean. He followed her into what turned out to be a surprisingly well-appointed galley. Here I was thinking we were having a moment. A moment? She pulled off her gauntlets, revealing hands that were disturbingly human except for the green tint and slightly webbed fingers. Is that what you call being hauled around like luggage? Well, when you put it that way. He watched her move around the small kitchen with the same efficiency she'd shown in combat. Can I ask you something personal? You've been asking personal questions since I saved your worthless hide. More personal. She set a container of something that looked like blue coffee in front of him. Ask, I might even answer. Do you ever wonder what you'd be if the Xylos hadn't attacked that station? If you'd grown up Visari? Her movement stilled. For a long moment he thought he'd crossed the line. Then she sat across from him, cradling her own container. My parents, Marcus and Elena, they told me about Visari culture. What they could find, anyway. Her yellow eyes went distant. We're matriarchal. Warriors, but not soldiers. There's a difference, apparently. We fight for honor, not conquest. And you fight for money? Human practicality. She took a sip of her drink. Marcus was a veteran before he became an engineer. Taught me that honor doesn't pay for ship repairs or ammunition. Elena taught me the rest. How to read people, how to plan, how to be patient. They sound like good parents. The best. Her voice went soft. They're retired now. Living on New Australia, but as far from Xylos space as you can get. I visit when I can. Do they know what you do? They know I'm the reason the Xylos haven't pushed further into human space in 5 years. Pride colored her voice. Every commander I take out, every supply line I destroy, that's months or years of preparation they lose. Liam found himself leaning forward. So it is revenge. It's prevention. She met his eyes. The Xylos understand one thing. Strength. They attacked that science station because they thought no one would retaliate for a few dozen scientists. They were wrong. Because of you, because of me. She drained her container and stood. And because of humans who refuse to stay soft. Unlike you. She gave him a pointed look. Speaking of which, there's a gym next to the weapons locker, since we have 3 days. Are you offering to train me? Liam couldn't hide his surprise. I'm offering to keep you from embarrassing your species. But there was warmth in her eyes now. Besides, watching desk jockeys try to do pull-ups is hilarious. Wow, you really know how to sweet-talk a guy. She moved closer, and suddenly the galley felt much smaller. If I wanted to sweet-talk you, analyst, you know it. Would I? His voice came out rougher than intended. What would that sound like? Her tentacles shifted, one brushing against his cheek so lightly he almost thought he'd imagined it. Dangerous question. I'm starting to like danger. No, she said, but she didn't move away. You like the idea of danger. There's a difference. Then teach me. The words were out before he could stop them. You've got 3 days. Something shifted in her expression. Surprise, maybe, or respect. You sure about that? I don't go easy on anyone. I wouldn't expect you to. She stepped back, but her smile was different now, less smirk, more promise. Jim, 10 minutes. Where's something you don't mind sweating through? I don't have any other clothes. Check the storage compartment in your quarters. I keep spare clothes for passengers who survive long enough to need them. She headed for the door, then paused. Liam. It was the first time she'd used his name. Yeah? Most humans I've met are warriors or workers. You're neither. That's, interesting. Before he could respond, she was gone, leaving him alone with his cooling blue coffee and racing thoughts. 3 days with the galaxy's most feared mercenary. 3 days to prove he wasn't as soft as she thought. 3 days to figure out why the way she said his name made his heart skip. He downed the rest of the coffee. It tasted like mint and electricity, and went to find those spare clothes. If Ryora Anderson wanted to see what this desk jockey was made of, he'd give it his best shot. After all, how hard could it be? Later, as he lay gasping on the gym floor, while she critiqued his form ruthlessly, he realized he might have underestimated the situation. But when she offered him a hand up, her grip strong and sure, and he caught her trying not to smile at his determination, he thought maybe, just maybe, being soft wasn't the worst thing in the galaxy. "Tomorrow," she said, not even breathing hard. "We work on your footwork." "Can't wait," he wheezed. This time she did smile. Liar. But she was wrong. He was already counting down the hours.